You have been taught that change demands noise, shouts and crowds, banners unfurled, thunderous marches that shake the earth. You believed revolution lived only in grand gestures, in the roar of collective uprising. But deep beneath the tumult, a different kind of uprising simmers, a silent rebellion born in your own stillness, each subtle act a seed that fractures the foundations of old norms. Today you will become that quiet revolution, wielding your inner resolve as a force more profound than any trumpet's call. You begin by lowering your voice and tuning into the whispers of your soul. In the hush of your morning, before the world stirs, you let your breath settle into a steady rhythm. You notice the habitual reactions lodged in your limbs, the impatience that springs when someone interrupts you, the cringe that tugs at your throat when complimented, the tremor of self-doubt that flickers when you dare to shine. You greet each impulse not as automatic, but as invitation to choose differently. You choose kindness when irritation claws at your edges. You let a soft thank you bloom instead of a curt dismissal. You watch the moment bend, sharp corners soften, tension ebbs, and the possibility of connection appears. Your quiet kindness becomes a small insurrection, undermining the courtiers of rush and rudeness that traffic in disconnection. You choose authenticity when conformity beckons. In a meeting filled with scripted jargon, you raise your hand and speak in plain terms. No buzzwords, no hollow phrases. You feel the air still as though the room recognizes your truth. Others lean forward, relieved by your clarity. You realize that authenticity disrupts the machinery of pretense more effectively than any rallying cry. You choose vulnerability when armor calls to you. You admit when you faltered, "I made a mistake," you say, voice steady. You watch as the stigma dissolves in its own admission. You sense permission rippling through the ranks. Others find the courage to own their own errors. In that shared confession, a revolution of compassion begins. You choose generosity when scarcity whispers fear. You offer your time to a colleague drowning under deadlines. You give encouragement to a friend teetering on the brink of self-dismissal. You give without expectation of return, and you feel your heart expand. You realize generosity is a subversive act, breaking the spell of hoarded resources and inviting abundance into every corner of life. You choose creativity when cynicism sows doubt. You sketch in the margins of reports. You hum a melody beneath your breath. You set aside 10 minutes to write a single sentence that surprises you. You allow your mind to wander beyond the walls of practicality. You see how that tiny spark of imagination crackles into possibility, reminding you, and everyone within earshot, of what's possible when we refuse to accept the status quo. You choose presence when distraction begs for your attention. You put your phone face down, you close extraneous tabs, you listen with all your senses to the story unfolding across the table. You savor the texture of each moment, the clink of coffee cups, the heartbeat in a friend's silence, the shifting light on a colleague's face. In that presence, you disrupt the culture of mindless multitasking, planting a revolution of awareness that honors the sanctity of now. You choose stillness when the world demands constant motion. You carve out 5 minutes each afternoon to sit in quiet, not in front of screens, not amid stimuli, but in gentle solitude. You feel the tension in your body recede, the clutter in your mind dissolve, the pulse of your own center hum. You emerge from that stillness with renewed clarity, ready to face whatever noise follows. In your calm, you stand as a sentinel against the tyranny of perpetual busyness. You choose integrity when shortcuts beckon. You honor the promises you make to yourself and others, even when it's easier to slide by. You feel the firmness of your spine align with the truth in your heart. You realize that integrity is a quiet force field that repels deceit, corruption, and the erosion of trust. In each upright choice, you topple a small empire of convenience built on shaky foundations. You choose hope when despair paints the future in shadows. You look for the slivers of light in every challenge, the lesson hidden in failure, the solution buried in conflict, the opportunity lying in discomfort. You cultivate gratitude for each sliver, each spark of possibility. You witness how hope gathers others, how a single beacon can guide many through the darkest night. Your quiet confidence becomes a lighthouse beam, coaxing shipwrecked souls back to shore. You choose love when fear tightens its grip. You open your heart to someone you've labeled other, someone whose views clash with yours, whose background diverges from your own. You engage with compassion rather than the impulse to judge. You listen deeply, seeking the human story beneath the differences. You find common ground, shared hopes, shared fears, shared longing to belong. In that bridge building, you dismantle walls brick by brick, forging a revolution of unity in the quiet spaces between us. You cultivate these choices into a daily practice, a liturgy of small rebellions that begins each dawn and recurs with every crossroad of your day. You keep a quiet revolution log, jotting one act of deliberate choice you made, the kindness offered, the truth spoken, the moment of stillness treasured. You revisit this log each night, feeling the quiet revolution swell into a tide of change that ripples through your world. You understand that revolutions do not always require barricades or megaphones. Sometimes they demand only a single life lived with unwavering intention, a life that chooses differently at every turn. You carry this knowledge as your banner, unfurled in the silent spaces where others might not notice. And yet, in its hush, you feel its transformative power coursing through the veins of your community, your workplace, your family. You step into tomorrow with resolve. You will face new pressures to conform, new storms of cynicism, new eruptions of fear. But you have the quiet revolution within you, a force that whispers its insurgent truth in each subtle act of courage. You are the storm-quiet storm, the revolution in repose, the uprising that cracks open the world from the inside out.